Nathan Tompkins has been performing poetry in this town just about as long as I have, which is to say back when Jesus was president. And we share very fond memories of read very close to this end of Hawthorne called the Cafe Lena that kind of inspired the format for the hour that stretches in that it was literally anything goes. And here to help us carry on that spirit, one of the emergent pillars of the hour that stretches, keeping live spoken word alive in Portland. Please welcome him back for, what is it, your fifth time now, Nathan? Third? Yeah, third time up to the hour that stretches. Nathan Tompkins.
First off, tonight I'm officially having released 2 chapbooks, which are right over there for sale if anybody's interested. I'm going to start off reading a flash fiction. Last year, about a year ago, I sent some comment on an editor that I know's Facebook page. And she contacted me and said, maybe you should write a story based around that for our project we got called Unbound Octave, which is basically every few months a different writer writes a little story and continues it on. It's pretty interesting. And so I did, and I sent it back, sent it to her, and she sent it back, I sent it to her, sent it back. Fucking thing's been revised about 50 times. And finally, then I submitted it again, and she said, well, maybe you should send it to this other place. So I did, and that place promptly declined it. 3 days afterwards, she sent me a note saying that they accepted it. So here it goes. It's called Keys. He looked at his portrait, painted on blank white notebook paper with a disposable big pen. It could almost be a photograph. Everything was there, from the smuggled cigarette held between his lips, to the rope stars on his throat, to the skeleton key tattooed on his chest, the one with her name on it. It even showed the tat on his right wrist. And it was an identical skeleton key. No name on it, just the word hell. He got it his second year inside. He folded the portrait carefully so as not to fuck it up, then placed it within the cover of his book, Dante's The Inferno. He read it in college years ago, but wanted to read it again. It reminded him of being in here. Virgil was a trustee. Dante was just some shithead politician touring the place. He wanted to send the picture to his mom. Next time he wrote, on the outside, he had no wife, no girlfriend, no kids. Mom was all he had, but when he closed his eyes, he didn't think of her. No, he thought of her. The reason why he's here, the one whose name was tattooed on his chest. My God, that first time they met, she was so beautiful. He smiled, remembering the way her blue and yellow striped dress slid down over her curves, shaped the round, dimpled surface of her lovely ass, the way her blue eyes sparkled by candlelight when she smiled, her laugh, like her vocal cords, were a heartstring plucked by the wind. She'd squint at him, shake her head, and the tips of her auburn hair tapping her shoulder. He recalled their first date, the back deck of some Irish pub in San Francisco, just talking. She drank a blueberry vodka with ice and soda. He had to find some local IPA. He took a sip, lifted her fingertips, and kissed the back of her hand, and then lifted her from her bench. They slow danced through some fast reel played by the band inside, laughing the whole time at the faces trying not to watch. Later, they walked along the bay and felt the ocean winds cool the summer night and kissed for the first time under the super moon. As the months passed, they talked about their past lovers, the good and the bad. She told them about her alcoholic ex-boyfriend. One night, she dragged his obnoxious ass out of a party. They argued all the way back to his apartment. They fought a lot when he'd been drinking. She parked in front of this place and turned to him. The detonation rocked her head as his hand stung her cheek. And then he remembers her relating how she sat there stunned as the ex climbed out, staggered to his apartment door, and shut it behind him. She stayed in the car, face numb, unable to cry, unable to scream, and finally she drove home, crawled into bed, stayed there for several days, calling in sick to work, just laid there, lights off, blinds down. She never called the cops. Just wanted the whole fucking thing over. He shook his head and recalling how he always wrote her love notes at night after she went to bed, just so she'd see it the first thing. When he got that key tattooed on his chest, he showed it to her. She told him it was beautiful, but he heard displeasure in her words. In her gasp when they fucked that night, he felt the end coming and it panicked him. He was so lost inside her, he was afraid of a future with an empty space where she should be. It always broke his heart when she flinched at his sudden movements or inhaled tears at a raised voice. He promised her from the beginning that he never hurt her. And of course, promises made are easily promises broken. The day they met for drinks at some local bar, he talked, but she said little. He wasn't surprised when after taking a sip of her porter, she told him it was over. She was going back to the ex. She blamed herself for everything that happened between them, from the drinking to the hitting. She told him how her ex kept calling and calling, sometimes at all hours, telling her he's changed. He stopped drinking, pleading for her to come back, and finally she got tired. Worn down, began to feel she owed him another chance. She drank the rest of her beer, sipped the glass down, then she gave him back his key and took hers. They hugged one last time and said goodbye. He watched her get up and walk out the door every time the cell door closes. Locks. He sees her walk away. He listened to the nighttime sounds of the block, listened to men cry, men scream to the drum tattoo of prison sex. 10 fucking years since he passed the gate that said, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Eligible for parole in 2. But he abandoned his hope the day she turned her back, left him at that bar. His forefinger charted the outline of the key on his chest, then the key on his wrist. Identical. The key to the heart and the key to hell are sometimes the same, just for different locks. Last March, I had an operation, and when I went under, I dreamt I was with gods. And we were singing and dancing around bonfires and telling stories and drinking whiskey and sharpening our spears as we prepared to go to war. And it was the most peaceful peace I felt since I don't know when. And this poem came out of it. This is out of the other chapbook. This is called Lullabies to a Whiskey Bottle. Called Dreams of the Moon. I once thought I saw your face in the moon, your cratered smiles as we rose from Atlantic beds to bid good night to the waning sun as he sung to the west. Once I dreamt you were my moon, or we'd walk between the planets, ballroom dance on the asteroid belt, place my lips upon your throat as we made love on foreign suns. It was a good dream. Or we'd sit around the bonfires, feel the sacred heat, vibrate the shadows across our masks as we drank whiskey with ancestral gods, recited poetry to the harper's tune, flung across the becalmed Lake Ponderay. It was a nice dream. Or we sit in a waterfront pub, watch outgoing ships blink red and green as they sat in the channel, waiting for a pilot to ease them across the bar, while beer washed down our fish and chips, and then the sun would appear across eastern mountains. And then we laid our gas in Pacific beds as we sang our waning song to the west. But in the end, that's all it was. This is called a Moonlit Cradle Song. I had a really good reading back last spring, and it was just a fabulous night. And I was been thinking of an Irish song, lullaby called Connemara Cradle Song. And this came about, a currach is a boat, for those who don't know. Last night the moon glowed inside me. I watched her fingers drum tap my heart in the rear view mirror as her lullaby breath cooled my ears. So I leaned my head over, heard the wind blow, heard the wind blow. The star-shone currach sailed across Milky Way sky oceans. My headlights glowed beneath her Friday night drunk smile. Silver hands held my cheeks as I drove home. Her murmurs sang to keep me company. Lean your head over, hear the wind blow, hear the wind blow. And the currachs guided me home as we cruised down highway currents. Window rolled down to hear her tongue whisper promises of moonstone arms, of lullaby moans. As I leaned my head over, heard the wind blow, and heard the wind blow. This one's called, Gathering Birds. I see them scattered across the splintered surface of a picnic table, its brown paint chipped and faded, the words "fuck the pigs" carved into the wood near my silent phone. A heart attached to two names, Sean plus Ann, lies imprinted by my pewter sporan flask, fold to the twist-on cap of black bush. The smooth liquid flames slide down my throat as it fuels my whiskey grin, alcoholic tears. This pen I use to communicate with the blue lines of my notepad as we meld our minds with the oak trees surrounding the covered concrete slab upon which the table rests. Sometimes every written word I gather is a serrated blade sighing down the length of my arm into the vein. Let's see, about 17 years ago. Wow, fuck, that's been a long time. A ship ran aground down in Hughes Bay called the New Carissa, and I was in and spilled oil, and I was down there to help clean it up. And this is about some jackass who was my boss down there. And he wore a beanie cap and looked a lot like a Where's Waldo guy. So I called him Waldo. He didn't like that very much, but I don't give a shit. Anyway, it's called Waldo on the Log. Heads down, asses up, screams the beach boss as we shovel more oil-stained sand into the plastic bags. His Where's Waldo beanie ball bounces while he shakes his head into the ocean breeze. It shoves its damp, frigid fingers up the beach. He sits on a driftwood log, heads down, asses up indeed. My Tyvek suit peeks through the ragged split seams of my yellow disposable rain gear, splattered with bunker sea oil. We stop for a breather. I grab my shovel and empty bags, walk up the beach to the sandgrass beds that line the shore. I drop my things and reach into the pocket for my tobacco pouch, full of ballyshack, roll myself a cigarette and light it up. As I stand there smoking, I look up at the coasting chopper that hovers over the bow section of the wrecked New Carissa. Watch balls of jelly napalm fire dribble from the hose. Drip, drip, drip. As it falls into the once full tanks of oil, the oil that now sits under the Pacific or is scattered along the shoreline. It reminds me of smoking grass as they burn rubbish on a rusted iron barrel. The plastic bags would burn, liquefy, drip over the side into the dirt or further down into the angry red ash ambers of this trash pyre. Hey you, get your ass back to work. No fucking smoking on the beach. Waldo yells at me as he sucks on the butt, chugs filtered Marlboro Light 100 nicotine smoke into his lazy lungs as he sits there on the half-rotten log. And then I flip him off and grab my gear and get back to work and watch the napalm drip, drip, drip. This is a true story as well. A few years ago, one of my cousins was beaten to death up in Spokane, and nothing was ever done about it. So this is called the Needle's Edge. He was 25, by the way. He had light brown curls, dimples, so deep they captured unwary girls if they did not watch where they stepped. He played football and grabbed that damn ball as he ran the field. Mud clung to his cleats as he pounded his legs to the turf to reach those white goalposts. But when they found him that morning in the house on D Street, beaten, bruised, bloody, I remember. He had light brown curls, dimples so deep they captured unwary girls before he found his jagged comfort in the hollow point of a needle's edge. And when I saw his mom that Christmas, I held her as she quaked in my arms. I held her as her tears dampened my shirt, and then we separated. I watched her wipe her red eyes with a white Kleenex. In the end, the cops didn't do a fucking thing. In the end, they disregarded the bruises on his face, on his body, on his brain. They claimed the blood splatter on the wall was from shoving poison into his withered veins. So his murder was ruled an overdose. He was just another dead needle freak. And who cares if one heroin addict kills another? But you know, someone always does. Because even junkies have mothers who will always remember.
No.
It's called Outside Looking In. Sit in the corner with a beer and a joint. Just watch everyone else get drunk, get stoned, get laid. Mouth remains shut, save for the lies. Yeah, the crack is good. Yeah, I'm alright. But I just want to go home, read, sleep, get fucked up, black out, pass out alone. Because I know they know I'm broken. A raped human clock, shaking, anxious, in second hands. Clutching wrong numbers, a face hidden behind a beer bottle. So I go outside, drink, smoke grass, watch everyone through the window, wishing to feel the grin on my face, to chuckle without lying. But I'm outside, sometimes wanting to go home, sometimes wanting to join them. And I always just listen to their joy, while my smile writes fiction. How much time do I got?
You got 10 minutes.
You
got 10 minutes. Keep going.
All right.
Gotta fill in.
This was just published in Crackback magazine the other day. It's called Remember. My childhood secure within the borders of faded photographs. The child me I barely remember. The one who called his mother sweetheart, because that is what you call someone you love. The kid who ate air pop popcorn, heavily layered with sweet butter, as he sat on the couch, snuggled with his mom as they watched Love Boat in Fantasy Island. Yeah, this was a long time.
Woo!
The one who smiled, laughed as he made up impromptu songs, words forgotten once sung, or dances not caring who saw the lack of rhythm in his feet. The laughter before the tears, the smile before the shame, before my 6-year-old ghost was forced to lie naked, face down, staring at Darth Vader's face stitched into my bedsheets. This one's coming out in an anthology called, I can't remember. But anyways, coming out from the University of Hell this year. And it's like, we can do it for you better or something like that. Anyways, it's called How to Survive. It's basically an anthology of how-to poems. And this is called How to Survive Shark Week. So you can guess what I was watching whenever I wrote the fucking thing. First, grab a 6-pack of beer, a 5th of whiskey, a 12-pack of pop, throw it all in the cooler, full of ice fresh from the freezer, toss it in the back, right next to the towels and dry clothes. Second, get your friends, pile in the rig and drive down to the South Jetty where the iron bones of the Peter Airedale lie half buried in the sand. Third, jump out, grab the icebox, stagger it down the salted dune near the ocean, whose white foam tongues lick your feet as you walk the line between land and sea. Fourth, find a driftwood log whose sun-dried surface is lined with ancient worm tunnels, set the cooler down, open the lid, drink a beer, some whiskey-fied pop, get drunk, laugh as you feel the sand slide between sun-tanned toes. Fifth, dress down to your swimmers. Run to the water, cooling from the sun as you dive into the waves, feeling their power push against your skin back to the shore. And lastly, when you see that great white fin slice across the surface, its nose tip a torpedo aimed for your leg, hope you're not the slowest one in your group. Last spring, last April, I was part of this thing called a found poetry group, and but it didn't end very well. There was basically a disagreement. I didn't like being talked down to. For some reason, they didn't like being told to fuck off. But anyway, one of the prompts was to use an online username generator, and then do a Google search on whatever comes up. And I got puking enthusiast, which an enthusiast is apparently a fancy word for a stripper. So this is what came up on a Google search. The dim-wit Duke of Windsor, voodoo kicks and no exit enthusiast, forceful emptying the cup of zuck as she sheds busty skin in a striptease to be like her papa one day and grope the honeysuckle divine. A gentleman in Texas blazed the wrong isolated planet as a pop star stripper accused me of puking in the dark warrior carpet of the children's methamphetamine den to get her magic 8-ball rolling, and left. Got a couple more here. It's called When I Told My Mother. One of the hardest conversations I ever had. 11 a.m. in a brown rocking chair, leaned over, slightly buzzed already, right hand throttles the neck of paper bag bourbon. Calm, slow breaths want to come, but they don't. Just the nervous frozen fingers dancing on my spine set her down, mark the worried look as she glances at the bottle's mouth, listen to the twanging groans, the creaks, the cracks as her heartstrings stretch, break. While I force my lips open, Move my stuttering tongue, tell her of him and what he did to my childhood. Feel her arms shake as they lock around me. Her cries touch my cheeks as she kisses my forehead. My tears want to come, but the only tears are hers. This is the second time to find it. And everything organized. Then I remembered that they were front and back. So I lost everything.
Just like Justin Montgomery. There's stuff on the back.
This is my version of hell. Hell Inferno. Metal folding chairs lying in formation before the black microphone stand or semi-hidden between stuffed bookcases that tell the stories of Virgil and Dante. I sit in one, out of the way, towards the back. Rust iron shackles form around my naked ankles. Overweight handcuffs clasp my wrist. I am stuck here, and I realize my misery, and I hear his name from that list. And I see him rise to the podium. Hand touches his iPhone as he searches for the right words and the right phrases to shout across the room to declare his poetics manifesto to us lowly peons, and he lashes us with pseudo-intellectual whips, enslaves us with the shackles, the chains of his ego. And as it goes on, I think that maybe this time he is finished, but he's not. It's another line, another second, another day, another week, or another year, or 6 centuries, 6 millennia, 6 decades, the number of the beast born from the ocean's thighs. And I wish I could reach up, gash my eyeballs from their sockets, shove them in my ear canals to just shut out this fucking noise. But I can't. And I wish I could storm the podium, cut the wires of the mic, jam it down his writhing mouth. But I can't. And I wish I could rise from the sheet metal chair and bash it over my thick skull until I'm unconscious. But I can't. No, I'm just stuck here listening to his voice. Each paragraph, each sentence, each line is a torment, an agony thrust upon my poor withered brain for all my sins. And I look through the glass and aluminum gates through which I entered, abandoning all hope, and I see her, Beatrice, with her black eyes framed red with the tears as they slide down her smooth Italian cheeks. Her lips mouth to me the words, "You're fucked." Thank you.